Hey, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. Be sure you're subscribing on the YouTube page, smashing that like button. If you're listening on one of your podcast apps, please follow along there. Give us 5-star reviews anywhere you can. We love you for all of that stuff. It's Greg Boysen with Mario Tirabasi on this Around the League Wednesday. Our line mate, we're just going to put Jay Zawoski in hockey terms, having a maintenance day.
Maintenance
today.
day, yes.
Preventative maintenance day.
It definitely is. Yeah, he's
it's
a good day to have a maintenance day.
He's getting some maintenance done. That's all we're going to say. He can
expound on it tomorrow.
He can disclose as much of that as he wants when he returns tomorrow. So just the two of us are riding it out today, but we got a lot to talk about. The NHL arbitration cases are now done.
All of them?
I believe so. That was according to what I read earlier, at least the most important ones.
Yeah.
But I believe since the Troy Terry avoided arbitration, I think that put a wrap on all of them.
There you go.
So we'll talk about Troy Terry's new deal and how that may affect the Blackhawks going forward on the ice and in the front office. And the Boston Bruins, they had some arbitration settlements, and we were just going over that roster, and they
it's interesting where they're at.
They needed to win that cup last year, and it's gonna get ugly in Boston before it's all said and done. And then the Athletic, our friends over at the Athletic, published the results of their annual NHL fan poll. So there's some fun questions in there.
Blackhawks tie-ins.
Yeah, there's a couple direct questions affecting the Blackhawks and others, so we can kind of go over those and maybe give our answers, and you can give your answers in the chat as well for those watching on YouTube. But first, we just wanted to update everybody. It got lost in the shuffle of our mailbag Monday and Tuesday and our Frank Nazar excitement the other day that the Blackhawks and the Wirtz family announced their plans for a public memorial service to honor the legacy of late chairman Rocky Wirtz, of course, who passed away a few days ago. In case people were wondering or didn't miss it, it's going to be a week from today, August 9th, at the United Center. The event's going to begin at 11 a.m. inside the arena. It will be first come, first served seating. And then following the formal program, the United Center will remain open until 3 o'clock in the afternoon for those who are wishing to pay your respects. There's no charge for any of this. It's a free event. In case you want to head down there, the Blackhawks say guests should enter the United Center through gates 6 and 7 on the south side of the building, which will open at 9:30. So gates at 9:30, and parking will be free, available in Lot K. They will open up other lots if needed. So they also asked in lieu of flowers that you make donations to the Blackhawks, the Chicago Blackhawks Foundation, which Rocky was very proud of, and they did a lot of good work. So that should be a fitting day. And knowing the way the Blackhawks have done these kind of, theme nights, and this is not a theme night, but their theme nights, their
public
their
events,
jersey retirements, things like that, it's going to be a first-class operation from start to finish.
Yeah, and I think it's it's a good thing to have this for Rocky and for the fan base to be able to have an opportunity to honor his legacy, honor what he did for the organization under his chairmanship. And I think it'll be good for Blackhawks fans and for the Wirtz family to show the support and see the support. So it'll be a good event for that. So I believe we will be making efforts to be there.
Yeah.
So we'll pay our respects and be there for the team and the Wirtz family. So it'll be good. It'll be good. And yeah, to your point, like I think, that this is one of those times where, you expect the Blackhawks to kind of go a little bit above and beyond in the way that they format things and the way that they'll honor Rocky, and they'll do it how he would have envisioned an event like this, I think. So yeah, I think that'll be good to see, and should be I don't want to say fun event, but should be a good honoring.
Yeah, for sure.
For Rocky.
And I think with the timing, with that being at 11 and our show's not till 2, there's no reason why we can't be in attendance for that as well and check it out, pay our respects. In case you're wondering, the Wirtz family is having a private service for family and friends on Tuesday, the 8th, the day before. So it'll be a good time for Hawks fans to come pay their respects. Let the Wirtz family know, what Rocky meant to them. Of course, we've talked about it a lot over the past few days. Bringing this franchise from being a laughingstock in all of professional sports to making it the model franchise of the NHL for years. Bringing in 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years. We've talked about missteps along the way, but as I said before, the Rocky Wirtz era is overwhelmingly positive and good. And so it'll be a nice event and a nice kind of way to wrap it up and put a nice ending to a great legacy.
Yeah, for sure. Windy City Hockey in the chat says, do you think the Hawks will wear a Rocky patch this season on the jerseys? I know that they did for when Stan Mikita passed away. I know they did for when Rocky's dad, Bill Wirtz, passed away.
If they wore one for Bill Wirtz, there's no doubt they're wearing one for Rocky.
Yeah,
I'm sure
there'll be something.
And I also
RW or something.
Yeah, they'll probably put the initials on there. And then I also, there's been a lot of chatter that there might be a sponsor patch on this year's jersey.
Yeah.
Too. So there might be a
Potential
couple
for
patches, which to me, again, I'm not one of those guys that gets upset about that.
The
memorial patch, or maybe they put it on the helmet.
Yeah,
sticker
like
on the helmet
or something.
I'm sure there'll be something on the boards and on the ice all season.
Yeah.
But as far as like the sponsorship patch, I don't get worried about that stuff. I don't get bent out of shape.
The sponsorship patches and whatnot, you look at them on pretty much any jersey that they're on. They're not gaudy. They're not in the way. They don't distract from what you're looking at.
If you're at the arena, you can't even see
You can't see it on the broadcasts when you're watching the game. You can't see it at the arena, unless you're specifically looking for it. So, yeah, I don't think. And when they sell the jerseys, you can get it without the patch on it.
Yeah, they don't put the sponsorship.
You're not gonna get like a big
Yeah.
Bell Tire logo on your jersey. Like you get it without the patch. So I don't know if it's gonna be Bell Tire or not. I know they're on the helmets, but it's gonna be fine. If you want the Blackhawks to be able to pay as many players as possible to keep them around
without jacking up ticket prices.
Well, and also my point being, if you want them to be able to have that, because the salary cap goes up, the league has to have revenue. Right. So if the Blackhawks are putting more revenue into the league, if the patches and the sponsorships and all that, if that's putting more revenue into the league, means the salary cap goes up, means teams can stay more competitive longer because of the stupid hard cap. Think about 2010. If the if the league had more revenue, more cap space to use, that 2010 team could have stayed together differently. So, listen, if a little, Portillo's patch or whatever it is, I hope it's Portillo's. Means that you don't have to sweat as much between Bedard and Reichel and Korchinski and all their contracts or wherever they whenever they might come up. I'm fine with it.
Yep. All the any means of revenue is a good thing. for the league and for the team. And, number 98 is going to be bringing in a lot of revenue for the NHL over the next few years. Our RJK says, I'll be okay with a sponsor patch as long as it's CHGO. I don't know if we can afford that.
We're working on it.
We're going to need a few more super chats in order to be able to afford that. I'd be okay with that too. Just put our 3 cartoon faces from the website on each jersey.
Absolutely.
I'll be okay with that.
The CHGO application to be the sponsor patch for the Blackhawks will be like my application to the University of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Tossed right out the window.
Yeah, it might be a conflict of interest too, but it'd be fun to see.
Sure.
All right, so that's the Rocky Wirtz. That's the Blackhawks stuff as we get into the very, very slow month of August. But that's okay because August means we're 1 month away from September, and September hockey actually starts. So we're getting there. We're getting there. We got to get through this month, and then we'll be okay.
Once we get through this month, we got the rookie tournament, and then training camp, and then eventually real hockey is coming around the corner.
Which is strange because I dawned on me last night while looking through some of those October dates. Blackhawks only have 2 home games the entire month of October.
Yeah. Well, they start with a 5-game road trip.
Thanks, Fish.
And then is it 2 home games and then another 4-game road trip?
So they have the 21st, the home opener, and then the 24th. And those are their only 2 home games in October, which is fine because that means there'll be a ton of, games at the second half of the season. I can't wait for all those January and February home games.
Was it? I think it was February. They only have 1 road game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So I can't wait.
It's the opposite
driving
of
to United Center
a lot
all in February. I'd much rather do it in October.
Yeah, no, it'll be all right. It'll be. Last February it was just 2 home games. I think it was something crazy.
Yeah, because they had a bye week in there somewhere, and February has traditionally been not a great month because that's usually the Disney on Ice trip used to be. They'd be gone because they'd have the long February trip and then the circus trip around Thanksgiving, but they don't have that anymore either.
You got the All-Star break too,
right? Usually
right in that first week of February.
So and then are they doing all the buys right around the All-Star break again, like they did last year?
I'd have to look at the league-wide schedule.
I think they might be doing that again. So yeah, maybe we'll get some bearish weather in February, and it'll be a home ice advantage for the Blackhawks.
Sure,
it's too cold.
People
outside.
will hate coming to Chicago.
I don't know. All right, well. Wednesdays are around the league Wednesdays, kind of, sort of, even though there wasn't a ton of stuff to talk about. But the Anaheim Ducks have locked up one of their core members, one of the guys they've identified, Troy Terry. They avoided arbitration, and he signed a 7-year, $49 million deal to stay with the Anaheim Ducks.
Good deal for him.
Very good deal for him. Not bad for a guy that was selected 148th overall back in 2015. He's really come along. This is the type of guy that you have to think of when you see some of these Blackhawks prospects. 2015 he was drafted, and his first 2 years professionally were split between the NHL and the AHL. Remind you of somebody? And then, it took him. Then he had 2 full years of over 60 points, and then you were mentioning, this could be a good comp to Lucas Reichel as far as what maybe that next deal is. Now he's going to be an RFA after this season.
Yeah.
So we were having this discussion before the show. Do the Blackhawks try a 2 or 3 year bridge deal, or do they try and lock up Reichel on one of these types of deals to avoid the UFA, another deal, and to kind of maybe get him a long-term discount at a discounted rate to where in 3 or 4 years it hopefully would be a bargain.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dilemma for Kyle Dave. First of all, he's got to prove that he's worth a deal like
this.
This.
Yeah, exactly. We all assume he can get to that level, but he has to prove it on the ice. But yeah, for Troy Terry, I mean, he burned the first year of his ELC by playing 2 games following his 3rd year at DU in college. So he played 2 games, burns that year, so he only has a 2-year length of his actual entry level deal. Like you said, splits times between Anaheim and San Diego in the AHL.
Two awful places to play.
Yeah, must suck. And then signed a 3-year, $1.45 million AAV bridge deal off of his ELC for the 21, 22, and 23 seasons. And in those seasons, he put up 20 points in the abbreviated 2021 season. And then 67 points in 75 games in 21-22, and then 61 points in 70 games last season. So back-to-back 60-point seasons for a guy 23, 24, 25 years old. I just look at it as, this is a player that you would think when the Anaheim Ducks are back on the upswing, and hoping to contend in the next few years down the road, Troy Terry is going to be a great player, but not necessarily the guy that's going to put them over the top. And I think Reichel has the opportunity to be a really good to great player for the Blackhawks, but not necessarily the guy that puts them over the top.
Right.
So if he comes in and has a standout season, 60 points in 80 games or whatever, scores 20 goals, 25 goals, whatever it is, that's a great season for him. And then I think at 21, 22 years old, it kind of puts the Blackhawks in an interesting spot. Do they, like you said, give him this long extension and say, we believe in you, here's 7 years at $6 million or whatever, or $7 million, or do they try and bridge him to the point where you could still keep his RFA status, another contract go around, and not necessarily handcuff you in any way, cap wise. I think with that option, you also run the risk of, well, he puts up 60 points and then he puts up 70 points, and he puts up 70 points again. Now you got a guy who's a proven top level NHL player.
He takes that jump and gives you an 80 to 90 point season, and then you're like, well, now we got to pay him $10 million.
24, 25-year-old who's looking for $10 million.
You've got Alex DeBrincat Part 2 on your hands,
right?
As far as contract goes. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing. Now that we talked about the Ducks on the upswing, they're obviously now under the control of Pat Verbeek. You look what they did this offseason. They brought in Al Killorn. They brought in Radko Gudas. Those are guys you bring in when you want to compete.
Yeah. And
those are guys that are from teams that have won Stanley Cups, that have been to Stanley Cup finals. Those guys didn't sign in Anaheim to babysit young guys.
No. They're not Perry and Foligno.
And I thought the Ducks had a shot at being a playoff team last year. They were just so bad early on, and they quit on their coach. There was no doubt on that. And then I think this year, new coach, another year. You bring in some veterans. You got another year of your young guys jumping forward, and it'll be interesting because next season they got to give new deals to Jamie Drysdale and Trevor Zegras. So,
according to Cap Friendly, Zegras is still needs a deal for this year.
For this year, okay. Yeah. I thought he was.
He is. I'm looking at here. Yeah, he's still listed as an RFA here, unless I missed something. And Cap Friendly doesn't miss things.
No, yeah, you're right.
Zegras still needs a deal. It's they're going to be able.
So does Draisaitl too. Yeah, they need him this year, not next year.
Yeah, they're gonna sign them eventually.
Yeah, they've got about $10 million in cap space, or $20 million. $20 million, in cap space. So they'll get deals.
They'll get deals done for those guys. But yeah, you figure, you got Troy Terry, you got Zegras, you got Drysdale, you got Mason Matavich. You think probably Leo Carlsson plays this year?
Maybe we'll see.
It would be interesting to see.
Pat Verbeek wants to prove everybody right that
taking him over Fantilli,
second over Fantilli, and I want to show you why.
Yeah, they have some. They definitely have some holes defensively. Your top guys are Drysdale, Cam Fowler, and Radko Gudas, basically. In net, John Gibson, Lucas Dostal.
Gibson wants out, though.
And Gibson wants to leave.
Dostal is the guy he's the goalie of the future.
Yeah.
Gibson's just been a shell of his former self the last 2 or 3 years. So.
Yeah, they're a team that I think they want to compete and contend, but I just don't think that they have the right pieces to do it yet. I mean, you have a year left. This final season of Adam Henrique, final season this year of Jakob Silfverberg. You have Ryan Strome for 4 seasons, including this year at $5 million. I think they have some of the pieces there. They should be better than last year.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way. They should be better than last year.
They have the fortunate situation of playing in arguably the worst division in hockey.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have a lot of games against the Coyotes, who are better than they've been.
Coyotes are in the Central.
Oh, that's right. Jesus.
They'll have,
yeah, you're right.
but they'll have, they'll face San Jose.
San Jose, who's going to be
face Calgary, who's a question mark. Seattle had a great season last year after having a dismal season in their first year. So we'll see what pans out there.
The Kings are they were a playoff team last year, but you never know.
The Pacific Division is interesting, but they'll have their opportunity. I mean, they'll play Chicago, they'll play Arizona a couple of times.
Yeah,
and
they get those games against Vancouver.
Yeah,
those should be those should make them a little more healthy in the point standings. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Anaheim. I think I said they were going to be contending for a playoff spot last year, and look how well they rewarded my good faith. But I think they'll be at least in wild card contention for much of the season. Yeah, they'll be one of those teams that come trade deadline, you're not sure what they're going to do.
And with the cap space that they have, they could be one of those teams. I know we were talking about it yesterday. They could be one of those teams that heading into training camp or coming out of training camp right before the season starts, they might be one of those teams that says, hey, Caleb Jones is still a free agent, or you go through the list of the guys that are still unsigned, that they might go out and get 1 or 2 players and say, hey, this is a free agent that we're giving an opportunity to kind of bolster our lineup. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then they're a team that the aspirations are not Stanley Cup necessarily, but they have the spot. They're in a spot where they can kind of roll the dice on someone from that list. So it'd be interesting to see what they decide on doing.
And the team that we're going to talk about after our ad reads here in a second, the Bruins might be looking to shed some salary. The Flames are still looking to make some trades, so maybe the
Bruins
Ducks
kind of have to.
We'll be talking about that here in a moment. But just to wrap up the Lucas Reichel part, what kind of season would it be for you, to give him one of these Troy Terry deals this off season?
If he puts up if he's north of 65 points, then, and it looks like he's not just kind of coattailing Bedard or something, if Reichel looks like a guy who puts up 60, 65, close to 70 points and is looks like he's more in control of his line's production, rather than just if they put him on a line with Bedard and he's just kind of feeding Bedard all season. While that's all well and good, I think you look at past players that benefited from line mates, like a guy like Dylan Strome. I think if Reichel can put up points and look like a factor on his own outside of who's on his line, I think that's really what I would say would put me over the top to say, at 22 years old, sign him for as long term as possible, give him $7 million, invest in him, show him that, hey, we brought you in to be this kind of player. You've shown us now you can be this kind of player at an early stage in his career. Lock him up for the peak of his career, his prime years, as much as you can.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to be up to Lucas Reichel, I think, to see what kind of deal he gets. But yeah, if he looks like he's what you expected him to be, and you can get him at a discounted rate long term where you don't have to worry about it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and with this potential rise in the salary cap, you'd like to think that if you sign a guy to like a Troy Terry, 7 years, $7 million per year, that by years 2, 3, 4 of that deal, $7 million per year is no longer like, whoa,
Right.
like that's
one of these
top
years
line money. It's like, well, no, that's what you get for a really good second line player.
One of these years, that big jump the NHL has been promising
One
us
of these
since forever,
days.
it's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
We'll actually be able to go over $1 million. Maybe we'll get that jump. If the MLS can somehow give Lionel Messi $1 billion, we can get a $5 million bump in the salary cap rate. Come on.
You'd think. Just as long as the NHL doesn't sell their rights to a streaming service.
If it gets me $100 million salary cap, I'll watch every single game on Paramount Plus or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
What would be the streaming service? The NHL would give it to the worst.
It's
one.
gonna be
MLS at least has Apple TV. That's like a legit company. It would be like,
is Tubi still a thing?
stream all our games live on Blue Sky, where like half the world can't even get an invite.
It'll be
to watch.
when Threads launches its live video service, you will
Watch
find all the
your
NHL
games on IMBD TV.
Yeah. It'll
be
definitely
bad.
be something like that.
You know what's not bad though? It's getting decked out for late August golf outings from our friends at Pins and Aces.
Yeah, that's never a bad thing. Pins and Aces, they are the official golf apparel partner of us here at CHGO and of the ALLCITY Network. And they are one of the presenting sponsors of the CHGO Kickoff Classic that we'll talk about a little bit about later. Our golf outing coming up later this month at Cog Hill. But there's going to be plenty of Pins and Aces gear out on the course for our event, and there's already a lot of Pins and Aces gear out there on the course. I know I'm going to be wearing my Pins and Aces gear tomorrow. That is the reason I won't be here for the show. I will be golfing with my dad in a golf outing that we do almost every year. So that'll be a lot of fun. But I will be wearing my Pins and Aces gear and going to be showing it off. And when I hook the ball into the trees or shank it into the water, at least I'm going to look good when I'm doing it. And that's what Pins and Aces can do for you on the course. They make amazing polos, hats. They have golf bags, pants, gloves, ball markers, you name it. Pins and Aces can get you decked out in it in the golf game. And even more, they have the beer/beef sleeve, the innovative product that allows you to store up to 7 beers right inside your golf bag and keep those drinks cold the entire round. You could do beers, you could do juices in a can, you can do sparkling water in a can.
Italian beef sandwiches.
You could do Italian beef sandwiches. You could probably do
combos.
You could probably do combos, hot dogs, brats, whatever you want. Stick them in the beer/beef sleeve, and it'll keep them warm or cold for as long as you need them. And you can get all of this at pinsandaces.com. Check them out there. When you do, use the promo code CHGO, and you're going to get 15% off of your first order, and you're going to get free shipping. Again, that's the code CHGO when you go to pinsandaces.com.
And if you want to get decked out in some great sports merchandise, or we call it around these parts, some sports merchandise, head over to our friends at FOCO and get fitted in the best sports gear around. They've got everything from hoodies. We don't need those just yet, but maybe stock up before hockey season. Get yourself some hoodies, shoes. They've got signs, bobbleheads, everything in between. We're in the middle of baseball season, so grab your Aloha shirts, straw hats, polos, bags, everything you need for a game. As you look around, you'll see a lot of bobbleheads and decorations.
Might be some White Sox bobbleheads on clearance from FOCO.
Yes, those Jake Burgers are buy 2 get 1 free or something like that. Yeah. Lots of ex-White Sox bobbleheads on the on FOCO for you. But as you see, we've got quite a few of our decorations from our set are provided by our friends over at FOCO. So get yourself some awesome pieces for your office, at home, or at work, your man cave, your she shed, your garage, whatever it is that you want to decorate. FOCO has got you covered. Go show them some love at FOCO.com or click on the link in the description below and use the promo code CHGO, and you're going to get 10% off all non-presale items at checkout.
Yes.
All
Do
right.
it. Get decked out.
Well, we paid some bills, and the Boston Bruins are going to have to pay some bills here.
They're going to have to pay the piper in a little bit.
They went for it last year. All in, as we like to say, and it ended in a giant ball of fire came crashing down, and that might be the last chance the Boston Bruins have at a Stanley Cup for a very long time.
The last real good chance.
Right.
You lose David Krejci. You lose Patrice Bergeron to retirement. And you don't have the ability to really replace them.
I mean, they tried.
We were going through their
James Van Riemsdyk would have been a nice signing 4 years ago.
4 years ago would have been nice. Yeah.
Doesn't help them get any younger.
Milan Lucic was great when he was a Bruin 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's back.
Great. And who else did they sign?
They brought in Jesper Boquist.
Okay, at least
the other
he's
Boquist.
Yeah. The guy I used to say was second best Boquist, but he might be actually best Boquist.
Could be.
Or at least he's not 40.
Sure.
So he's got that going.
He's a young guy.
25.
And
he's one of the youngest guys on the team.
They just wrapped up arbitrations with former Wisconsin Badger Trent Frederick, and then also young goaltender Jeremy Swayman on a $3.475 million arbitration deal for him. So you have your tandem from last year still there with Linus Ullmark, Vezina winner, and Jeremy Swayman. Two guys that had maybe their career best seasons ever. Well, obviously up until now.
Yeah.
But that might be the best performance you get out of them. You have guys like Charlie McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm locked up for a long time defensively. You have David Pastrnak locked up for a long time, but at a pretty high $11.25 million cap hit. 2 years left of Brad Marchand, who is 35. 3 years left of Charlie Coyle at $5.25 million. You got 4 years left at $4.75 million of Pavel Zacha. Like we said, James Van Riemsdyk, Milan Lucic are in the fold as well. Jake DeBrusk, Trent Frederick. I just don't think they have the cap space and they have the horses to really replace what Krejci and Bergeron leave as they exit the organization. I don't think we're looking at a team that's going to be making the same noise, anywhere near the same noise they made in the league last year.
Yeah, I agree. They have $429,000 of cap space right now.
Not a lot
after the Swayman and
it's not enough
deals. No,
that's not even
really
league minimum.
You lost so much center depth, and
yeah.
Let's not even talk about what those two guys brought to the ice. You're not going to be able to replace Patrice Bergeron's defense and offense, but just what those guys bring to the locker room. And,
yeah.
I mean, this was Patrice Bergeron's team.
Yeah.
For a long time, over a decade. It's going to take them a while to get an identity, get them a new leader, a new voice. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, just make Brad Marchand the next captain." I mean,
I could see that.
Sure, it would be a very Boston-y type thing to do.
I mean, he's been there with Chara and with Bergeron for his entire career.
He was on that 2013 Cup team. That's how long he's
2011. He was on the 2011 Cup team.
And and he was on the team that lost to the Hawks. So he's been through it. He was on all three of those Stanley Cup teams. I wonder how much of an effect Patrice Bergeron had on Marchand when Marchand was ready to go full on stupid.
Yeah,
because he's relaxed from that.
I mean, he's 35. You'd think that he'd, at this point in his career, be able to.
You'd think, but without Bergeron there to kind of be like, "Hey, dude, not cool." Does he go revert to being a complete meathead as opposed to a somewhat meathead? But but they need some centers, and they don't have the money to go out and get any.
Your top center right now is Charlie Coyle, which he's a fine center, but he's not a number one.
No, he's not a $5 million player either. I don't. That's not a great contract.
You got Morgan Geekie. Jesper Boquist is also a center, kinda. I just don't see that they have those gaps filled in their lineup. And we were talking about the cap space that they don't have. They also don't have a first, second, or third round pick this year. They don't have their second round pick next year in 2025 either. So you don't have the draft capital to really make a sweetener deal to maybe move some money around. This team is very much locked up as what they are.
Yeah, welcome to NHL hell, Boston Bruins. You had your shot. You blew it. I'm not saying they're missing the playoffs this year.
No, I think they're still good.
But if they did, I wouldn't
around.
be shocked. But they're definitely not going to be the number one seed in the East.
No, and even though you lose Krejci and Bergeron,
but as Philippe says in the chat, they've also lost Orlov, Bertuzzi, Hathaway, Taylor
Yeah,
Hall, Nick
right.
Foligno. They lost a lot from that team.
That's a lot.
Bergeron overshadows them all, and rightfully so. But that's a lot of veteran leadership.
Those were all those guys that they had that they brought in to go for it.
That's why they have no picks.
Right. That's why
and
none
of those
they're
guys
in this
came
spot
back.
too.
Everybody thought Tyler Bertuzzi was going to come back.
Could have.
And he's in Toronto.
Yeah, so it's a lot to lose. I know we talked about the 40-point swing it would have to be for them to go from, record-breaking President's Trophy winners to out of the playoffs, but that almost happened to the Panthers. It's not unheard of that a team can have that drastic of a swing season to season.
I mean, you got to remember, Blackhawks won the Stanley Cup in 2010 and needed the Minnesota Wild to beat the Dallas Stars on the last day.
Yeah.
In order for them to get back in the playoffs. So, it's happened. Especially when you got a veteran team that's lost a lot of guys. Maybe they may try and make a trade one of these guys to free up some salary cap space. I know the Flames appear to be open for business, and they've got a couple of guys that would look good down the middle for them, and Elias Lindholm and Backlund. But the Flames aren't going to take Charlie Coyle back for those guys. And the Bruins don't have, as you mentioned, they don't have the draft capital.
No.
And they really don't have the prospects either.
No.
Because if they had the prospects, they wouldn't be giving, Trent $2 million a year.
Yeah.
Trent Frederick. They'd be just call up a guy from the AHL. They're in trouble.
They're
in big trouble.
They're not in a great spot to have no draft picks, a lowly rated prospect system, and still, there's still good pieces around there. Brad Marchand's still a good player, even at 35. He hasn't shown any real signs of slowing down.
David Pasternak's one of the top
is
6 players in the league.
Yeah, he's an elite player. McAvoy and Lindholm are good defensemen. I think the biggest question is, what does Ullmark and Swayman do? Because last season felt like an anomaly that they both played so well. And they also had a team that was a monster in front of them. Now that monster is diminished a bit. Can they pick up the slack that's left?
How does Ullmark and Swayman look without Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci winning all those defensive zone faceoffs, getting the puck out of the zone, playing elite defense?
It's going to be interesting to see.
It will be interesting for sure. And had they won the cup last year and they're raising a banner on opening night, nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's all forgiven.
Absolutely.
But to have the best regular season in the history of the NHL and lose in the first round and now have to go through this, it's going to get ugly. And I kind of like it. You said they were frauds. You called it.
I did. And even just looking at some of their bigger contracts that you would think that they could move. I mean, you could move DeBrusk. That's $4 million, but that's a guy that you might kind of need. He can play center, play wing, up and down the lineup. You could move Matt Grzelcyk, but then your left defensemen are left a little thin there. You have Shattenkirk this year for just over $1 million. I mean, you can move him. That doesn't really give you a lot of cap space to work with, but I don't know. It feels like they're almost literally at the ceiling. They're $400,000 short of the ceiling, and they're just maxed out with where they're at. They don't have anybody that I know of. I don't think anyone's going on LTIR or anything like that.
You struggle this year. You barely make the playoffs. You miss the playoffs. Easiest way to start rebuilding, getting draft picks and prospects back, is finding someone to take David Pastrnak. It's painful, but that's the easiest way to start a rebuild.
David Pastrnak. Does he have a full no movement? Yeah, years 1 through 5, no movement clause.
Yeah, but if the team is garbage, he may be like, get me the hell out of here.
Yeah,
he's never won a cup.
That's true.
He wouldn't mind doing that. He had a shot at one, didn't do it in 2019.
He's also got that personality though that he seems like he wants to be invested in where he's at. I don't think he's necessarily a money or cup chaser. I think if he likes Boston enough, he'll try and stick it out. But yeah, I mean, they're big players to move. All have some sort of no movement, no trade.
Yeah. What would you say? There's like 7 or 8, almost everybody. I think they got more no movements than non-no movements.
Yeah, they have a lot. They gave one to Milan Lucic, Zaka, Coyle, Marchand, Pasternak, Brandon Carlo, Derek Forbo, and Hampus Lindholm all have no movements or no trades.
Derek Forbo any kind of no movement clause just seems
such an interesting one.
So silly. I know it's a limited
clause.
It's not
modified.
a full no, but still, like really.
Hey.
I don't know.
They did. Linus Ullmark as well.
I think
no trade.
Well,
modified,
I mean,
no
he's
trade.
coming off of a
winning the Vezina. Sure.
I mean, you shouldn't. But yeah, to me, no movement clauses should be outlawed. They should be banned. Like it's silly.
Yeah.
All they do is make things life harder for you as a general manager.
Right. Yeah. It's good to have it for the player.
Absolutely.
Protection, but yeah, from a GM standpoint. You handcuff yourself when you do that. So, yeah, Boston's going to be an interesting team to see. I still think they are a playoff team. I just don't think, especially in that division too. Like, I would not be surprised if they are like you said, like a wild card
7th, 8th
1 or
seed.
2. Yeah,
maybe they can return the favor and knock out the Panthers as the 8th seed this year. That'd be fun, kinda. All right, we'll spend the last few minutes.
Give me the chaos
of our show. The Athletic did their annual NHL fan poll, and they released their results of that. And there's some interesting questions in here. We're not going to go through all of them. We'll just do a few that kind of involve the Blackhawks. And the first one they did, not the first question, but the one that involves the Blackhawks the most. Connor Bedard is 24 years old, in his prime. He is playing at the following level.
This was an interesting one.
Yes, the top response getting almost 36%. Top 10 player in the NHL. Think current Kirill Kaprizov. Okay. Just behind that was 31.6%. Top 3 player in the NHL. Think current Nathan McKinnon. That's a little better.
That sounds nice, yeah.
Third was at 14.6%, battling with 32-year-old McDavid for MVP. That's what I want.
Yes, that'd be wonderful.
I think the McKinnon and the MVP are the I don't know. Top 10 players seems a little disappointing. I'm not.
If you're saying that Connor Bedard at 24 years old, that's 6 seasons in the NHL. If you're saying that he is on the level of what Kirill Kaprizov is right now,
it's a little disappointing.
That's great. That's a guy who can be your best player, but yeah, I think it falls a little short of what everyone's kind of been told that he can be.
You didn't give up an entire season for Kirill Kaprizov. No offense to Kirill Kaprizov, who's a fantastic player.
Yeah,
but I want.
You want a guy.
You want the Sidney Crosby.
You want a guy who is going to compete for MVPs. He's going to be in the running to lead the league in points, and that's what you want to hope.
You want a guy that's going to be so good you take for granted how good he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we did for many years for some of those Hawks guys, like we do for Connor McDavid.
Yeah,
like we've done for Sidney Crosby. You just take for granted because they're just guaranteed to put up 40 goals, 100 points. You're just like, oh, he did it again. No big deal.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what we all hope for him to be. We want him to be at the highest potential ceiling that he can be at. But I will say, if he maxes out as top 10 player in the league, I think that it'd be easier to stomach and should be easier to stomach if that ends up being the case because of the other players that the Blackhawks kind of have to put behind him. Like if he's top 10, let's say Reichel's top 20, top 30. Let's say Frank Nazar becomes a top 50 player in the league, or Oliver Moore does that, or Kevin Korchinski does that. If Kevin Korchinski is one of the top 30, top 20 defensemen in the league, having all those guys together would make it a little bit more, stomachable that, Bedard didn't become the elite next McDavid, but he was part of this group of really great guys that all came together and helped the team, hopefully reach the aspirations of the Stanley Cup. I think that's the only way that him only being, quote unquote, only being a top 10 player in the league would be fine.
I don't think at any point of Patrick Kane's career did you consider him the best player in the league. I know he won a Hart, but
top 5.
He was always,
at some point,
Ovechkin or Crosby. Those guys are kind of always in the conversation. So if it's the same for Bedard, but the Hawks are winning championships because the team is so good, then it's okay. The other options that got votes for that was a top 30 player in the NHL. Think current Sebastian Aho, 9.9%. Those people are on crack. All-star level, but not a true franchise talent. Think current Matt Barzal, 3.4%. And then a couple people from Vancouver, spurned Canuck fans, not an all-star level or better, 1.1%.
Yeah.
Get out of town.
I'm going to do some quick math, but at the very least, we can say almost 80% of the league, of fans around the league, think Connor Bedard could be at the very least a top 10 player. And I think that's completely fair.
Absolutely. Based on, just the numbers, the talent, the shot, it's very easy to think that way, and that's hopefully exactly what happens. So that was one interesting question.
Yeah, I like that.
Another one. Pick one NHL team that you're most confident will win a Stanley Cup at any point before the year 2030. The team with the most votes, 16.1%, were the Carolina Hurricanes. New Jersey Devils.
They eventually have to figure it out,
right?
You
would think, they've got a couple more years to really give it a shot. The New Jersey Devils, 15.5%. I like that.
Yeah, their window's opening.
The Oilers still at 13.1%. You got to believe McDavid gets one at some point. I really thought this past year was going to be the year they finally do it, but
they're potentially running out of time to do it together. So
10.2% of the people think Colorado Avalanche
will do it again.
We'll get another one. That's feasible.
Yeah, their window is definitely still open.
Number 5, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Those poor saps still think they're going to do it. 4.6%. Here's an interesting one. The Minnesota Wild are 6th at 3.7%.
It really feels like it would have to be like it would have had to have been like last year.
Being voted on by the fans.
Sure. Yeah.
So Minnesota. Some rabid
passionate
fans.
Fan base, passionate athletic subscribers
come in at 9th at 2.7%. So only 2.7% of the fans polled think they'll. Well, it's not think they'll win one, but that was their choice for sure.
Yeah, pick a team that will win a cup by 2030, and hey, being 9th out of the 9th choice out of the league, that's not so bad, especially when you consider. The 8 teams ahead of them are, perennial contenders like the Hurricanes and up and coming contenders like the Devils, and you have Oilers, Avalanche, Maple Leafs, Wild, Stars, Sabres, up and coming team, and then you have the Blackhawks ahead of the Golden Knights, ahead of the Rangers, ahead of the Bruins, ahead of the Red Wings. Okay, I'll take that.
The bottom feed of the worst tied at 0.1%. It's probably only got one vote. The Arizona Coyotes, not a shock, and the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I think people just don't.
They're low on them.
I think people just don't know what the Flames are doing.
Last year, I was high on them, picked them to go to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.
This year, no, everyone's just going to write them off, so this will be the year they go to the Stanley Cup
final.
Sure,
of course.
And lose to the Carolina Hurricanes, apparently. The Winnipeg Jets, 0.2%. The San Jose Sharks, 0.2%. I'm not sure they're good enough to win a cup, but they should be higher than that. They got some talent.
And the next, what is this then? It's a 2030. Is that 6 seasons, 7 seasons? 6 seasons, I think. I feel like San Jose can turn it around and be respectable, a playoff contender in 6 years. They have the picks. They have some talented prospects. I think they're going in a direction where you can say they can turn it around. But I think obviously they haven't shown that they're ready for that upswing yet. Winnipeg, that's another one where it just seems like, what are they doing?
Definitely on the down end, yeah. we have the flip side of that question. Pick 3 NHL teams that look the most hopeless in terms of becoming a cup contender at any point before 2030. Surprise, surprise, the team with the most votes, the Arizona Coyotes. Sorry, Petey, Craig, and Leah. 61.4% of the votes went to the Coyotes. Then there's the Sharks, 30.7. I mean, I know the Sharks have been bad, and they're going to be bad this year, but there's some talent on the way there.
Yeah.
The Jets, just under 30%. The Flyers, that makes sense. They're just starting a rebuild. The Canucks, because, they're the Canucks.
Sure. Another team that's like, what?
And they have the Anaheim Ducks at 17.9%. That's silly. We talked about how they're going to get better. And the Columbus Blue Jackets at 16.6. I think that's some recent bias. People are just looking at the standings from last year.
A lot of these are.
But the Blue Jackets have a lot of good young talent coming, and they're another team that shouldn't have been as bad as they were last year.
Yeah.
But then who knows? Mike Babcock could have complete monkey wrench and all that.
Who knows? And
the Blackhawks are there at 5.2%. So more fans think they are completely hopeless in being a cup contender before 2030 than winning a Stanley Cup between 2030. Again, these are fans. These are fans from all 32 bases. These are not experts. These are not coaches or players. These are fans who, a lot of fans, believe it or not, don't like the Chicago Blackhawks.
Jeez.
So it's more out of spite that they're going to say this.
It's it's funny. So it's most hopeless in terms of becoming a cup contender at any point before 2030. And it's hilarious to me because it's just like, I know we're not saying Bedard makes you an instant cup contender this season, but the consensus is that with him, you're immediately a better team. And to the Athletics' own Dom Luszczyszyn's model, if they had added Connor Bedard to the Blackhawks in terms of off-season additions and improvements and whatnot, they would have been one of the 6 most improved teams from last season to this season. So to think that you have Bedard, even with a ragtag group around him for 6 seasons, that the Blackhawks, he couldn't drag them at least to becoming a potential contender. That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like there is wanting to vote against the Blackhawks just because you want to vote against the Blackhawks, and then there's actually like trying to use your brain and be like, this kid's going to be pretty special. Yeah. So I think that's where you get your differential.
Absolutely. There. Yeah. Sometimes it's fun to be the villain.
I'm going to try and embrace it as much as I can. I'm buying more black clothing. I'm trying to think what else I can do to embrace.
I've already downloaded a ton of like crying baby gifs to use
there you go. Okay.
On whatever social media outlet we're using. Come when the Blackhawks are back to the playoffs.
Yep.
I'm ready.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we'll just do a couple more quick ones. There's some interesting things about the playoffs, but that's something
do a
the
whole
3 of
show
us,
on some of
maybe
those,
Friday's remote show, we can tackle all of that and break it down a little better. But a couple fun ones before we go. The first question they asked, who's the best player in the NHL not named Connor McDavid? Nathan McKinnon of the Avalanche got 30.4% of votes. His teammate, Cale Makar, 17.8%. McDavid's teammate, Leon Draisaitl, just slightly behind him, 17.4%. Then Austin Matthews, 12.2%. And Matthew Tkachuk, 9.7%.
Jay's the guy.
One amazing playoff run. Do you think that he was in the top 5 last year, Matthew Tkachuk?
No, it's definitely a recency thing. But, I mean, to say that he's the best player besides McDavid in the league is a stretch, but he definitely propelled himself into the conversation of top 10 in the league, top 5 in the league. Yeah. When people talk about, who would you take to right now to build your franchise around, he's a guy that people want. And he's got the kind of game that does a little bit of everything great.
The guy right ahead of him, Austin Matthews, I think we talked about during the playoffs. If you're in a Stanley Cup final, you're in a playoff series, who would you rather have?
Yeah.
Austin Matthews or Matthew Tkachuk?
I think
it's Matthew Tkachuk.
I think Tkachuk is definitely made himself a case to be in that conversation, considered one of the top players in the league. He's definitely gone up to that like upper echelon. He's not at the point of where McDavid or those guys are. But the last few seasons he's put together, it's just you see all of the tools he has, and it's very rare that you find a player that possesses all of them. So,
who would you pick if you had to answer that?
Best player not named Connor McDavid. I think I would go with McKinnon. I just think, again, like you talk about all the tools that he has. He's a special player. The speed of his game, the power in his game. I think if I was doing a NHL 23 fantasy draft open to anybody and I had the second pick, I'd be very comfortable taking Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. He's a fantastic player. I think, though, just because of the position he plays, to me is more valuable to be able to do it at that position.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But don't get me wrong. I got a shot to get either one of those guys on my team. I'm doing whatever it takes to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, last question we go before we pay some final bills and wrap up. This was a fun one. If you could grab dinner or drinks with any current NHL player not on your favorite team, who would it be?
I'm surprised by the top vote here.
I am. The top vote getter is Sidney Crosby at 20.2%.
Does he seem like the most interesting dinner guest?
Not really.
Not to me either.
I mean, if
could
you
be
want
surprised,
to sit there and talk hockey, sure. But if I'm going out to dinner, I want to do more than just talk hockey.
Right, yeah.
Marc-Andre Fleury was just behind him at 19.3. That seems a little more...
I could get that.
He's got a little more personality.
He's got a fun personality.
Tell you some dad jokes.
Good stories, yeah. That would be a good one. That would be a good one to pick.
Alex Ovechkin, third, 14.3.
That could be fun.
That would be fun just because after dinner, when you start throwing the shots and having some fun. Partying with Alex Ovechkin, back in my 20s, I would have been all over that.
Yeah.
Matthew Tkachuk, 10.1%. I could see that. He seems like a fun dude. And then Brad Marchand, 5.6. As much as people hate him, he is a really funny guy.
Oh, yeah.
And probably
he'd be an entertaining dinner guest.
I know who I would pick. I have a feeling we'd pick the same guy.
We might. He's not currently on our favorite team.
Not yet, but
he still could be. I would pick Phil Kessel.
Me too. For hundreds of reasons.
Oh, yes.
Because he just seems like he'd be an awesome dude to just sit there and BS with for an hour or two. And then, obviously it'd be like, hey, let's just go to Portillo's. Like, we don't have to go to, some fancy, trendy restaurant.
And a Chicago dog.
Yeah, we could just go to, the neighborhood hot dog stand and get a fries and a couple of dogs and sit there over a liter of RC and just chill.
That'd be great.
That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you know what is going to be a lot of fun? Guaranteed. Mm-hmm. We don't need to sign Phil Kessel to make our golf outing at Cog Hill.
We should invite him, though.
A fun time.
I know he likes golf.
Yes, he's probably quite good at it. I would imagine a lot of NHL players are good at golf, but it's the first annual. Oh, well, I can't say that. The inaugural CHGO Kickoff Classic at Cog Hill coming up just in a matter of
3 weeks.
A couple of weeks. 3 weeks
away.
from Friday, August 25th. Shotgun start at 9 a.m. You're going to get it's a great deal. 18 holes with the cart. You're going to get exclusive CHGO Pins and Aces golf towel for all players. There are going to be hole contests, giveaways, and prizes. There's going to be lunch, drinks, and a ceremony after the round. And, of course, as always, our diehard members get a discounted rate on their golfing. It's going to be a lot of fun. Most, if not all, of your favorite CHGO personalities are going to be out there. I know Mario is going to be playing. I think Jay's going to be playing. I'm not going to be playing because I don't do golf. But I'll be there. Yeah. I'll probably be the guy measuring the longest putt contest. I'll be there. I'll say hello. We'll have fun. So make sure you're becoming a diehard to get not only your discount on the Cog Hill golf outing, but you're going to get the podcasts and live shows on every team every day, just like you already are. The post-game shows, the premium written content for for diehards. There's going to be our rebuild report is going to be behind that paywall.
Coming
so you
back.
got to get the diehard membership to read our rebuild report to stay up to date weekly on all Blackhawks prospects around the world. You're going to get 20% off all events, not only the Cog Hill event, but you get your tickets for our Bears tailgate parties. Those are going to be starting up soon. There's going to be...
We got one more. We did the White Sox Cubs down at Guaranteed Rate. We got another one coming up at Wrigley Field on August 16th.
Yep, there we go.
Crosstown Takeover
I believe there's
Series.
still a couple of tickets left for that, so you can get those at 20% off. That's a ticket to the Cubs-Sox game August 16th, a pregame meetup. I believe. I don't know if we've decided what bar that's at just yet. So but you also get that awesome T-shirt, either the
North Side
or South Side T-shirt with it. So you get save 20% on that. You'll save 20% on all merchandise. You want to go on. You want to buy our new 98 designed T-shirts.
Yeah.
Some of our old classics. We still got our Captain T-shirts.
Yes,
our legendary
our Captain.
81 shirts. There's the future of the league design. You'll save 20% on that at ALLCITY. And you get one free shirt when you become a member, and you get to join the members-only Discord CHGO Lounge. That's where you get to get your first crack at Mailbag Monday questions.
Oh, yeah.
And top priority.
First priority.
So head over to allchgo.com, click on the Die Hard tab. Please support us. Become a Die Hard member today. You are not going to regret it. I promise you that.
Tons of reasons to be a diehard. Tons of reasons to also crack open an ice-cold Goose Island beer on this warm Wednesday afternoon. Goose Island is the proud beer sponsor of us here at CHGO, and they have been Chicago's beer since 1988. And when you go to crack open your Wednesday afternoon beer, make sure it is a Goose IPA, the 6-time medal winner at the Great American Beer Fest. It's always in style with a citrus aroma and a bold hop finish. If you're into the darker, heavier IPAs, you got the Tropical Beer Hug, the dry hopped Imperial IPA. That's a 9.9 ABV that is dangerously easy to drink. If you're more of a Pilsner fan, go for their full pocket pills. It's the everyday beer and what the Goose Island beer brewers are drinking. Or if you like their staples, you can go to the golden cans of 312, their wheat ale, always in style for Goose Island. You can grab all these and more at their 2 locations in the city. You can go to their original brew house on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park, or you can go to their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Again, that is the Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer.
All right, that's going to wrap up this episode of CHGO Blackhawks, and I'll be back tomorrow with Jay. Mario's going to be practicing for that Cog Hill event, golfing with your dad tomorrow. Enjoy that. And hopefully you get a nice day out there for you. And then the 3 of us will be back Friday. A remote show. Maybe we'll break down those playoff questions. Yes. So Jay and I are back tomorrow at 2. Be sure to smash that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hook us up with some 5-star reviews online. And we'll meet you back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. Thanks, everybody.